Welcome to US Tzu Chi 360. I'm Ginger Chang. Today, I report to you from Louisiana for our two-part special on the British petroleum oil drilling disaster 3 years later. The Gulf of Mexico is no stranger to oil spills, but the fire and explosion that occurred on the Deepwater Horizon drilling platform on April 20th, 2010 resulted in the deaths of 11 workers and ended up as our nation's largest oil spill. Approximately 5 million barrels of crude oil were released into Gulf waters for nearly 3 months. Come along with me as I met up with the National Audubon Society's Louisiana team, an environmental group that's been actively engaged in the front lines of the BP oil disaster restoration and response process. Hi, Melanie.
Hi, Ginger. How are you? Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
This is a spotting scope. You can see they're 10, 15, or 20 times as far as normal vision. During the beginning of the oil spill, I live in Baton Rouge, and what people were doing generally started down on the coast, which is about 3 hours away. It was not uncommon for me in the first several weeks of the spill to get up at 3 to jump in the car and drive down, and usually on those days I didn't get home until 10 or 11 p.m. I grew up actually in Maryland on the Chesapeake Bay. I grew up around a lot of these same birds, and the desire to be able to try to do something to protect them, even though it wasn't really very clear what was going to be most helpful, trying to figure it out and help Audubon then figure out how to play a role was really important.
After driving for over 3 hours, we finally arrived at Sandala Marina in Grand Isle to depart for one of the islands in Barataria Bay. It was also there where we met up with Dr. Douglas Meffert, the Vice President of National Audubon Society.
Hey, Ginger, how are you doing?
Yeah,
good to see you again.
So let's go meet Melanie.
Okay, absolutely. Hope it's not too windy today. Well, we're gonna see birds, that's the important thing.
According to the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, almost 1,100 miles of the Gulf of Mexico's shoreline were oiled. Over 8,000 birds, sea turtles, and other wildlife animals were found injured or dead in the 6 months after the oil spill. Oil accumulated on the skin of animals, such as the marine birds, make it difficult for them to breathe and move. The oiled birds lose the ability to fly, dive for food, or float on the water, which can lead to drowning. The oil also interferes with the water repellency of the feathers and can lead to hypothermia. Ingestion of the oil can kill the animal, or often it'll lead to lung, liver, and kidney damage, which eventually leads to death.
After some rough, choppy waters, wonderful Captain Mark is able to get us out to one of the islands. So Melanie, what's particular about this island that we're here?
We're here on Queen Bess Island, and this is one of the sites that was the hardest hit during the BP oil spill. And we were really interested in hoping that they would do well during the BP oil spill and not get too much damage, because it's a very important breeding colony for the pelicans.
According to Louisiana's Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, out of the over 1,500 oiled birds that were recovered, 1,116 of them were rehabilitated and released back into the wild.
Because we do bird conservation, I don't want to take risks with really disturbing the nesting birds, but if we can get around to a side that they can... So 3 years later, it's hard to tell how they're really doing. There are a lot of birds here, and you can see them building nests and carrying sticks around. But we don't know which birds these are. They may be birds that were here during the Deepwater Horizon spill. They may be birds that moved in because some of those birds that died aren't taking up space. So for instance, they could be birds that were in Texas during the spill.
During the oil cleanup response, BP also contributed by creating the Vessels of Opportunity program. Among the over 5,000 commercial and charter fishing vessels employed, Captain Mark Scardino was one of them.
The bird catchers would catch them during the day, They'd bring them in, they'd kind of wash them as much as they could, give them a little sedation to sedate them down so they could clean them. The next morning, we'd go there, pick them up, put them in a boat in dog cages, and under surveillance for 3 or 4 days, and then they'd try to let them go. And we were hauling all kind of birds, from pelicans to the seagulls, to the scarlet birds, anything had all in it. We picked them up from them and we transported them to Port Sulphur. I had 2 boats running 7 days a week, anywhere from 20 to 30 cages a day.
The white pelicans are bigger and the brown pelicans are smaller. So the white pelicans, they migrate down from Minnesota all the way down to Mexico during the winter. So some of them are still staying here. Well, these areas are very productive. They're very productive for fisheries. They're very productive in terms of agriculture. Louisiana depends on fisheries. Louisiana depends on oil and gas revenues. What we need to be thinking about in the future is how do we actually look at our natural resources, both here and nationwide, and how do we start investing in clean technology, clean renewable energy to benefit the economy and benefit nature at the same time. It's that little opening right there. So see, with high tide, the water can go inside the island, and then with low tide, the water can flow back out again. It also allows then fish to go from inside to outside and vice versa, thus by providing habitat for the fish and, frankly, food for birds on the island. The Coastal Master Plan fits in very intimately with where we are now and with where the BP settlement and other recovery dollars will go. All of those funds, Audubon's been working very closely with the state to ensure that the funds are spent on the most appropriate ecosystem level restorations possible. That's a $50 billion 50-year plan, and it's a kickstart that gives us all hope that we can finally move towards a sustainable coast for our birds and for our people.
They're carrying things in the mouth. They're carrying sticks or grass. They're using it to build up the nest. There's one carrying a stick.
Yeah, I see
that. The island looks like the birds are thriving, and that's very positive. It lets us realize that bird populations can be very resilient if they have habitat and food, and they can reproduce. I've spent enough time with birds to know that we have to give them a chance. We have to do our best. Even in the face of a large disaster, I knew they would keep fighting, and so I never gave up. I kept fighting.
Many of the people in these communities were saying, after 4 hurricanes in 3 years and after the BP oil spill, I've given up. I don't have hope. I have to admit, at that time, I almost gave up hope too, because I thought, we've just been decimated so much, and how are we going to get to where we need to go? But I have to say now, not only do I have hope, I have confidence that we are actually going to take huge steps in the right direction.
The oil spill lasted for nearly 3 months. Yet the extent of the damage from a mere 87 days created an uncertainty for not only the Gulf's avian population, but our precious Mother Earth as well. For now, only time can tell, and we can only wait for the next 10, 50 years or so till we have concrete answers. So earlier on, we just visited Elmer's Island and Grand Isle. Now I'm at the town hall on Grand Isle, and joining me is Mayor David Camerdell. Welcome, Mayor.
Good morning, Jen.
So we're going to go right to the first question, which is, initially in the response after the BP oil spill, what did you do to help the town that you love and the people that you care about?
Well, between the council and the chief of police and myself and elected officials, we came in and we got the call at night, and we went on the beach and we could see the explosion with just a little red light about 100 miles south of Grand Isle. And from there, we was in touch with the Coast Guard and the higher officials, the governor, and coming through the Gulf of Mexico toward our way.
Wow.
It all depends on the winds, which way the tide. So the whole base of the Gulf of Mexico, from Florida to really Texas, Mexico, was on alert.
Then what did you do to help stop the oil from coming further into the beach?
First thing you notice, if you look at the maps here, we have islands. Grand Islands is surrounded by passes.
Right.
And what we decided, that knowing that the water was coming in from the Gulf of Mexico, we decided to figure out a way how to block the passes.
Right.
But in the meantime, our fishermen were waiting for the green light to help any way they can to put these booms. My hands were tied. I knew I couldn't take public funds, and knowing that the government's gonna come reimburse me, I couldn't use a nickel off the town revenues or nothing to come and do anything.
Wow.
So I was running all over all the way to Shreveport, Louisiana, which is an hour and a half, trying to deal with the BP officials and telling them. And there was different mayors, different parish presidents. We was trying, to get some. What you gonna do? What y'all plan on doing? I mean, when we had disaster for hurricanes, we do a lot of stuff because we're resilient people. Yes. We know that we're gonna clean up our mess and we're gonna move forward. In the meantime, I get a call from the White House about 10 o'clock at night. And
From the president himself?
Well, yes. At the time, it was it's telling me that the president would like to come over and to your town and visit you guys.
Okay.
So I thought it was a prank. I just thought it was one of my buddies playing a joke at the time. And I said, oh, there's no way, And I said, well, if you're for real, you're welcome anytime you tell the president he needs to see what's going on.
Yeah.
And the president came here a couple of times. First time he came in and he met with us at the Coast Guard station. At that time, we're trying to explain to the president what we think would be best. And the reason for that is to protect the island and also the Barataria estuaries, where all our fish and our crabs and our shrimp. This is the most productive place for the brown shrimp in the world.
Yes.
The president said, we're going to send manpower, we're going to send you help.
Yes.
And telling the other governors toward the east that whatever they need, we're going to help out. But Louisiana's getting hit hard. So the president sent manpower, sent a crew, did a good job. And at the same time, he met the second time, calling me back, wanted to come back to Grand Island and sit with us. And I said, the best place is to put you behind the marina and maybe sit down on a picnic table and see the fishermen, how they make a living and see what's devastated. And he did.
So he did that.
And he did that, and he met with fishermen, he met with some business owners and listened to what was going on, and also people that own the marina, how it was devastating. They're all coming in their marinas.
So would you say this is one of the missions you're trying to drive the economy here for the people?
Right.
So besides having the oil companies coming back here to provide the jobs, what else would also help the people here recover better?
Well, this is the greatest fishing spot in the world. We depend on tourism. And that's why I stay on BP, the council, myself, and the chief, and all elected officials, we stay on BP to clean up your mess. We're ready for summer. The business people are ready. We need our tourists back.
Well, it's progress, and even though you still face some kind of uncertainty, there is progress, and you are moving forward.
Yes.
Yes. Well, Mayor David Camerdell, thank you once again. And I do wish you good luck and the people here. One of the key things that we've discovered is resiliency.
Yes. And that's a picture of my dad I showed you earlier in the backside.
Yes.
I watched my mother and father lose everything in 1965. And, I've been through, first year I got elected mayor, and I had to evacuate my people 4 weekends in a row.
Yeah.
But I can knock on wood that I didn't lose a life. And Katrina and all other storms. You talk about progress. Since Katrina, I just got some federal funds to do my last project. That's how long it takes to get your money to come in. But in the meantime, we took care of people. I seen a woman begging for food. We went and get food for her, and we fed her kids. So we're going to continue doing that. And we're going to continue working with the oil field. And we want to let everybody know that the Grand Isle's open for business. And the fishing is going to be great. And our beaches is one of the cleanest in America.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And speaking of alternative and economic solutions to help fishermen recover, we're going to go meet another group that's been helping them.
I've been working with the Vietnamese fishermen ever since the aftermath of the oil spill. The oil spill actually affected the Vietnamese community here very directly and very harshly. 1 in 3 of the community members here were in the fishing industry, so a lot of our community members actually lost their jobs overnight because of that.
Yeah, my name is Sang Ho. I am a fisherman about 30 years ago, and now I got the oil, beefy, the oil come, not too much shrimp, not many shrimp now. I want to try now. I try do a farm.
Basically, we did the research and we introduced to them the idea of urban farming with aquaponics, and we chose an initial 15 people because that's what we had money for to help them build. We had initial 15 people, and Mr. Sang is one of them. What happens in the system is because the fish are growing, they create ammonia, and ammonia gets broken down into nitrites and nitrates. So the nitrates are something that's really good for vegetables to grow. Pipe the water into these tanks that pretty much collect the solid waste. The water still has those nutrients, and so the water comes into these growing troughs. And as you can see, the roots are growing right into the water, and so the roots are able to soak up the nutrients in the water like that. It's a closed loop system, basically. And so there's one entrance of the water, and it goes down these troughs and through these pipes, and they're able to come all the way back here. And this is the lowest point in the system, and so the water just naturally comes here because there's a pipe here as well that pipes the water back into the fish tanks. The vegetables that are growing on the troughs actually clean the water also for the fish. So it's kind of like a symbiotic relationship. The fish provide the nutrients for the plants, and the plants clean the water for the fish.
It was difficult in the beginning to figure out the water pipe system. I still get most of my income from fishing. The income from farming doesn't match that yet, but working in a farm is more stress-free. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Còn làm biển thì mất được nhiều hơn income.
Yeah. After the Vietnam War, when a lot of refugees came to America, one of the reasons why they settled in New Orleans is because the climate is very, very similar. It's very hot and humid. Because a lot of people came from fishing communities in Vietnam as well, so they had that experience and farming experience as well. We're gonna grow the food we eat, so that kind of like mentality has always been there, from Vietnamese people in Vietnam to even when they moved here.
Hầu như nó nhiều việc lắm.
Yeah.
Mình sáng ra thì những ngày mà thí dụ mà cắt rau.
Usually, I wake up at 6:30 a.m. and on a delivery day, I have to cut and harvest and make sure the plants grow well.
Hư thì mình đưa ra.
Yeah.
Bắt đầu là mình lại đưa cái rau.
And for those that are not well grown, we will replace them with planting new ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Đó, ương rau này mình phải tưới rau. Big one over there rất là đông lại, nè. Đi đôi khê. Yeah, đi đôi khê good, you know.
Is there more than 1 pound?
Yeah, over. Yeah.
About $1 pound, $10.
This is what Mr. Sang is delivering today. This is a petite Mizuna. We sell it about $14 an ounce, which is equivalent to about $250 a pound. So this is very popular amongst the farmers.
Yeah.
But they see the incentive. The pros outweigh the cons, basically, for petites. But it is a lot of hard work. And so that's what we do. We do a lot of the market research. We talk to the restaurants for them. Restaurants right now are really liking petites in general, and so that's why there's a premium on them. They can use it as garnish for salads and other things.
Thì cái nghề này thì nó busy lắm.
This job really keeps me busy, but when I see them growing from a tiny seed, that makes me happy.
Mình cảm thấy mình thích thú trong người.
Yeah. Because I grew up in this community, to be able to come back and knowing that our community members, it's something that affected them like so harshly, like the BP oil spill. You know, if you can do something that will help them get out of that, you know, that's something that's really rewarding, you know.
Wow!
Yeah. So this is just what we have today. You want to go in the kitchen or you
Let's bring it in. Let's take a look.
All right.
Perfect. We'll take these. These are perfect. Right now, we're supporting the veggie farmers across from Queen Mary, Vietnam, out in New Orleans East. They are providing amazing produce for us. Oh, yeah. Hey, man. Anytime. Yeah, I just want to use their stuff, though. That's what this is all about.
Cut it with like just a couple pieces of that.
Yeah, just a little bit. Cool. And they pay such close attention to it, and that's what we really love, you know, because we have to pay close attention to our food and the details, and we feel they do the same thing, but in the farming aspect of it. The, you know, complete devastation of that BP oil spill, and really kind of putting our seafood industry in some hard times. We felt that the Vietnamese community were the most resilient, you know, of all the communities.
So now after seeing the whole process, we get to see the end product, and I get to try it. So I'm with Jackie, and we're gonna see how this is.
Please enjoy.
Yeah. How much would this be on the menu?
This would normally be about $15, $16, you know, depending on the ingredients.
I'm really glad, you know, I got to try it, and it's, like you said, it's impeccable, and it tastes amazing.
Awesome.
Amazing.
I just really wanted you guys to see how we showcase it to the everyday diner, you know, and it's and in turn it supports, you know, our local Vietnamese farmers, so I'm all about supporting them. So I believe that their efforts and their resiliency are, you know, what kind of makes us support them. You know, we like that energy, and, you know, it brings a light to the situation when we see that sort of effort put into such an important local industry that we support.
Restoring the Gulf's natural resources brings health and resilience into the region, economically and ecologically. Thus, the living disaster created by the BP oil spill forces us to think of better ways to coexist with Mother Nature at large. Before I go, my team and I would like to thank all the people we met along the way. Please stay with me next week for the second part of our special on the BP oil spill 3 years later. I'll see you then.